Second interview for the project that I started, The Importance of Role Models and Representation, Redefining Gender through Personality Appropriation. This is the way this interview and other interviews are gonna work is there's gonna be 3 parts to the interview. We're gonna start discussing first the educational spectrum. We're gonna be discussing the importance of representation and gender construction in an educational system. The second part is about it's the political system and how representation affects that, and the third and final part is going to be about the media. So, being told this, could you give us your name, the gender you identify with, and your age, please?
Okay. My name is Jennifer Lopez. I'm 17 years old, and I'm a female.
Okay, we're gonna put this a little bit closer so you have to talk clearly. Okay. So we're gonna start off with explaining what a role model is. This is the first question and the first part, the educational system. So a role model is an individual which one projects onto with their desires to be better at in a skill, morals, values, or a physiology. So bringing this into an educational system, would there be an importance in the lesson one would learn from these role models? What can children learn from these role models? What do you think? Your opinions, please.
Yeah. Wow. Espera, es que no entiendo la pregunta. Es difícil. Es que es más en psychology.
Es la primera pregunta. ¿No?
Yeah, pero no entiendo.
Sí, physiology.
Physiology.
Es lo físico.
Físico.
Ajá.
No, I don't get it.
Okay, you don't understand that question. It's okay. So, let me rephrase this then. What I'm asking here is that you understand what the role model is, right?
Yes.
So, in this case, the role model is would be someone you want to get at, right? Yeah. So, in an educational system, how would a role model, following a role model, teach any? Okay, how would someone learn from observing a role model? Like, how do you think it would? How would you think it would affect how someone learns?
Well, like, if they are like really, I feel like, well, if you're trying to get to be like a role model, you will like, ¿cómo se dice? Como presionarte. You will pressure yourself, and like, I feel like it will affect you, like you'll get stress. Like you can get good stuff and bad stuff, well, I think, because you'll like try to be like someone else, not like to be like yourself. Like, yeah, in education, it might be good because you're like forcing yourself to be like better, but like in other ways, I don't think that will be like good for you. Yeah.
So
no, like. No, it won't.
It wouldn't be good?
No. Well, it's good to have a role model, like, to look up to, but I don't know.
You don't know?
No, like, no.
Okay. So, next question, gonna simplify it again, because you don't know this person, I probably expect. Have you heard of Judith Butler?
No.
Okay, so I will rephrase this. So Judith Butler, she has a feminist a feminist theory that combines a philosophy mode of thought that's called Phenomenology, which basically says that some aspects of our social norm are taken from history and are repeated by repeating what one learns from history. That's the basic it. So what Judith Butler says is that gender works the same way. We read about this in history, like gender roles, like what a female is supposed to be, what a male is supposed to be. We read this in history, and we tend to repeat those, propagating the stereotype and whatnot. So the question is, would more, like in an educational system, would more representations of different historical characters that go outside of the norm of gender roles, or following gender roles, if you like, would it help a child redefine what gender is for them? Like, if they had more access to just general history, like if they had other areas of history, like Black history or Native American history or female history and so forth, would that actually help a child redefine their own gender?
Like, no, because
could you be more specific?
Yeah. Well, I think like it's not about like you're talking like about like being like the gender, like defined like physical, like, or like,
well,
interested in.
Well, no, the way Judith Butler explains it is that gender is performative. So we see someone who's identified as female perform an act of what female is being, and someone who identifies as female follows that. So seeing that would seeing other aspects or other representations of different acts of gender, either male or female, would that actually help a child redefine what gender means to them? Like, I'm a boy, so I identify as a boy, and then I see someone acting as such or such or such in history, and I take those to say this is what it means for me to be a boy, or in the case of a girl, so on and so on.
Well, no, like, well, you can. I mean, like, everyone has a definition, like, of gender. I feel like what's a boy and what's a girl. But no, because okay, like genders, like they can do the same thing. So, like a woman can do the same thing like a man. So, the definition of like being a man or something like that, I feel like it's the same. Like they don't need to change anything.
So you feel genders are the same?
Yeah, like, yes. Because, like, well, it's just a name, like a woman, man, but they are, like, the same thing. It's just, like, for me, it's just, like, a name, like...
So you don't see any oppression of one or the other in history, or...
No. Well, if we're talking about history, a woman had, like, less power than men.
Uh-huh.
And it also depends on, like, sort of things. But now I feel like it's like the same thing, like equally, like.
So you feel right now it's equal?
Yeah, like it's not different.
Okay, that's fair. Sorry. I do realize these questions are a little bit complicated.
Yes.
I did not expect to interview someone so young. Usually the people I usually ask this are at the minimum age they have is around their 20s. So
Okay. Yeah.
sorry. So yeah, I'm sorry if it's a little bit too complicated. Being that as it may, what about the adults in a individual's education, like the adults in a school and stuff like that, like the teachers, the principal? How do they guide and affect the role models that students follow? Like, how do they say, oh, you should follow this because it probably will help you understand yourself better? Or how do you think that affects a child's construction of their gender or their sexual orientation or etc.?
Okay. Well, here at Vancouver, my teachers aren't usually telling you like you should follow like this person or like this. Like at my school, they're like they do stuff for what's it called? It's like for transgender people.
Any gender.
Oh yeah, like no. They do stuff for like all like them. Like they don't like if you're different, they aren't like telling you like you should do this to be like the other ones or like the ones like aren't different. To be like the other ones, like they aren't like that. Like if you have problems or like that, the adults try to like they help you, but they don't like go for a side or yeah.
So
like,
they tend. So in your experience, your teachers tend to be neutral about it,
yes.
and they don't tell you, hey, you should go to this side or that side.
Yeah,
They tend to be neutral.
Yeah, and they're neutral on that.
So do you think that's a good thing? Do you think that would help a child understand themselves better?
Yes, because I think if you're like equal with everyone, they will feel like safe, like not safe, like confident on themselves.
Okay.
Like they won't be suffering or not suffering, like they won't feel different like with everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, like
They would
yes.
they would feel normalized.
Yes, like they will ¿cómo se dice encajar? They will
Fit.
They will fit with everyone else. Like they won't be discriminated, and like teachers talk with students like you should be respectful to them and like not treat them different. Just treat them equal, like same as everyone else. Yeah. Yes.
It's okay. That's it for those three first questions. Don't worry. It always, for some reason, these three questions always go fast.
Okay.
I'm noticing that right now. So don't worry about it. We're gonna be moving on to the political spectrum. We're gonna be moving on to that. This is, man, I did not think these questions through for someone so young. Okay, with the recent rise of the political strains and fascist thoughts in the United States, Trump government and all that hate and whatnot. How important do you think is to protest xenophobic government, like the government who thinks that immigrants are bad and stuff like that? There's a person called Audre Lorde who says that differences are not weaknesses; they're actually strengths. We shouldn't be saying divide and conquer. We should be saying define and empower. So differences makes us stronger than than the other way around. So what do you think representation and role models would help in that case? Like, how would you think the representations of different people would help government change their minds about that?
Well, like right now there is a bunch of like role model that the government could follow, that they could do, but they aren't doing it. So I don't think that the role model matters in like to the government, because they are doing like what they think is good. The role model to them, I think it doesn't matter.
What about representation, like people's voices, different different ethnicities' voices, like black people, white people, gay people, queer people?
Well, there like right now there's being like a bunch of protests. But I like maybe they're listening, but I don't think that will change something. Like the community and maybe the people became like close, but the government, I don't feel like it's doing something. Well, in the States, I don't feel like they're working on something, but I don't know. I'd like the voices from the protest. I don't feel like they're being listened or. Yeah, like no, the government said what they think it's good and what they think it will work, but they aren't actually listening.
And why do you think they are not listening?
Well, it might, like, I don't know. No, I don't. But no, maybe they will, they want to take advantage of their powers maybe on different things, like money or, I don't know, like making change that will benefit them.
So you're thinking the government is right now just working for themselves and not for the people.
Yeah, like it might look like they're doing something, but they're maybe just doing it so that people could see that they're doing something, like with television, and we can see that they're doing something, but I feel like they aren't actually doing it. They're just like do something, and then the people see that they're working on that, but then with the pass of the time they're actually not keep doing it. So yeah, like the government is just doing it like for them.
You're just saying you think they're just doing a show for them too, so they're like, oh yeah, we're listening to you.
Yes.
They're just like, cool off, we're listening to you, we're doing this. Well, in reality they're not doing it.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I think.
Okay, so seeing that problem where the government is just doing something for show, how important then do you think is representation in that aspect, like representation in gender and sexual orientation in politics? Would that maybe help adults reconsider their own prejudices and judgment around gender and sex in society? Like, do you think if the people elected more people that represented them, like if I elected someone who's bisexual, for example, or if someone elected someone who's gay, or maybe someone who's transgender into government, would you think that would actually start to change the adults' prejudices against that gender, or about that sexual orientation?
I don't think so, because like if you're like if you're not a transgender person, or like it's the same thing, because if you're if I'm not, if I'm a woman and I'm not against them, I will do something for them, like I will be on their side. And I don't think it matters having someone in the government that it's transgender or something like that, to like so that they go with them, like.
But would it help?
Well, if it's just one person, I don't think it will help.
Obviously,
yeah.
one person can't be the voice of many.
Yeah.
So.
But if it's like some, I don't know, maybe, but maybe not. It also depends on the power that they have in the government, like. Yeah, because if they're doing something like the president, for example, don't want them to do, maybe they will, I don't know. I feel like it will be the same. They just will be doing protest?
More protests.
Yeah, protest, and they will just like keep like fighting and all of that. But I don't know. I think it depends of the power they have.
What?
Yeah.
What about not an example of some other government, like the Canadian government, for example, with their parliament and stuff like that? Would you think that in a system like that, would it actually change something, or do you pretty much think it's the same thing?
Well, it's like, I don't know, because here in Vancouver, I don't see a lot of discrimination. It might be, but like in my school or in the streets, like I don't see discrimination to other people. So I feel like it won't, like, in the government, I don't, because I don't know if here in the government they have someone like it's just gender or something like that. So I don't. It's so difficult.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's difficult. Politics is difficult in general.
Yes.
I don't understand it either. Don't worry about it. Okay, so what about how politicians and government educate themselves? The same person, Audre Lorde, who said about defining and power, she also says that the tools of an oppressor to maintain the oppressed is to make them try to explain what they need, while they themselves, the oppressors, don't have to educate themselves. So, being that the case, do you think more representation would take out that excuse for them not to educate themselves, or would actually do the opposite? Would it actually make them less? Would it actually give them more of an excuse to not educate themselves?
So, like the politicians.
Yeah.
For them not to educate themselves. For other people's, other individuals' situations, like cis white heterosexual guy in government doesn't understand a black man's problem, for example, or a black woman's problem, or a woman's problem even, and
because there's not enough representation of those voices, he doesn't have to educate himself about it, and he can just ignore the problem. Or if there's more representation out there in government for these voices, would this white man actually try to educate himself about the issues and problems of these voices that are outside of his own demographic and ethnicity? Or would it actually give him more of an excuse to just isolate himself and not help them at all? What do you think?
I think that he has to educate himself, and because it's equal. Like he's a transgender, and there's like a black woman or white or doesn't matter. I feel it will be the same. He has to, because if it's the other way around, I think he will like that woman or a man will have like knowledge of what they're having problems. Like, you understand me? Like if he's a transgender.
No, he's not.
Say. Oh wait.
Okay. Let's say he's transgender.
Yeah,
okay.
He's transgender, and then he has to. I'm saying that he has to educate himself on listening on the problems of the other people, like the outside. Because if like the outside people is like black or white, it doesn't matter. If it was the other way around, like the black woman or white or doesn't matter, that has the power, and he's on the other side, like he's the one that is having problems, I think that he will like that they will know what are his problems. So I feel like they will have to educate themselves on like everyone. Like
that's actually an interesting observation, that if he had let's back up a little bit. If this white male and heterosexual man wasn't in a privileged place, if the situation was inverted, he would actually want people to listen to his problems, right?
Yes.
But that doesn't happen. So the question is, would more representation of these voices actually push him to educate himself, or would it still be an excuse to be like, they can handle it themselves, I don't have to help them?
I think he will pressure himself on try to learn, like educate himself, because I mean transgender people wasn't accepted, and they had to fight like to be like accepted and all of that. So he already had to be. Yeah,
but he's not. For all purposes, he's not transgender.
Oh, okay, sorry.
He's what's called. Maybe I said the term wrong, or I said something you don't understand. He's a heterosexual white.
Oh, heterosexual.
Yeah. That's what you were misunderstanding.
Okay, yeah.
Heterosexual white men who has always had privilege over others because of patriarchy, right? So because he had all these privileges, he never had to educate himself for other stuff. So do you think if he was surrounded by more people who were having these issues, like if he was surrounded by black people, or he was surrounded by transgender people, or so on, would he force himself to educate himself on their problems so he could better understand them? Or would it go the other way around? Would he just ignore them and be like, they can handle it?
Oh, he will educate himself on, because he's surrounded by that people, and like he's listening to what their problems are.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because like if he's around them, he's always listening their conversations, like I'm having problem with this and that. So if he has like power, he will listen and then maybe try to do something or have knowledge of it. Like, yeah.
Okay, so overall, do you think it's good that so overall, do you think it's important that there's representation in politics so that at least these kind of people can force themselves to educate themselves and try to help others, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that was the most difficult part, I think. You're doing good. Don't worry about it. Are we okay? We're at the halfway point now, at 30 minutes. So, I think that's enough of politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
yes.
yeah, it's a difficult subject, I know. And what, you're 16, 17, right?
17.
Yeah, you're 17. You don't care about politics yet.
Not really.
You're gonna be 18 soon. You should probably teach yourself.
Yeah.
I should probably teach myself, but you know, whatever. So, we're gonna be moving on to the third part of the interview. The third part is about the media. You were talking about television before and whatnot. This is the moment where you could probably shine because you live media, right? You see YouTube, you see television, films, etc., 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 etc. So, going back to the very first, second question actually of this interview. You remember I told you about Judith Butler?
Yes.
Okay, so that same person, that same person also said that because gender is performative, in theater, because she uses theater as an example, in theater, a transgender man in theater, like acting as a transgender in theater, is less scrutinized, is less seen, is less frowned upon than a real transgender in reality, in real life, on the street. And she explains that the reason for this is because we're in a theater and the actors say this is an act. We derealize, like we separate our reality for a moment and we keep our reality in this temporary challenge of our own prejudice. Like it's not being, we feel like it's not being pushed on to us, these challenges. So we can keep our own prejudice in theater because we think it's fake, like quote unquote fake. While if we see it in real life, we would probably stand for our prejudices and probably hate the same person, the same character in real life than if it was in theater. So using that example, what about television and film? Like, you know how nowadays some shows are trying to show gay people and stuff like that. What about television and film? Would that actually be the same with television and film? Or do you think this actually changes little by little someone's opinion about gay people and transgender? Do you think they ignore, they take it as fake so they don't have to change their ideas?
Okay.
Or do you think seeing it so many times in television and film, they start to change their own ideas?
Ooh. Well, it's difficult because it's a show, and if they if they don't like it, I feel like they will stop maybe watching it.
Of course.
So, but like if it's like on every single show, maybe just one person, I feel like they will, like people that don't like them, they will maybe keep watching it, but they will maybe have the same opinion about them. Like I don't feel like it will change something because it's difficult to change the opinion of someone. about something, so or someone. So I don't think it will change. I don't think it will change something. It might change for the people, like for the transgender people, like if it's a gay man watching that, and I feel like he will be like, oh, now they're having like equal, like they're having a gay man on a show, or they aren't, like, because they're actors that they are on a show as gays, but in real life they're gays. So I feel like they're just for people that it's gay, or they will feel equal, like they will feel that it's doing something, or it might do something. But for people that don't like it, I feel like they won't change their mind. I don't know. Yeah. No.
What about music and radio? Would that apply the same to music and radio? Or because some music have some challenging lyrics out there, like like hip hop has some hip hop has terrible stereotypes and machismo and whatnot, and other songs like R&B and maybe some rock and some punk actually challenges some of these roles, like some of these social structures that we built.
Yep.
Like, do you think music that this also applies to music and radio, or do you think that is a different media than television and film? And if so, why?
I think it's the same. It also depends on, well, no. I don't know. It's difficult. I don't know. Well, I feel like they're the same media, because television shows, and they're seen by many people. In music, it's been listened by a lot of people too. But I've never thought of that, like how music will change something like that. So
music is really powerful. Some people actually, in older generations, heck, me included, have that one song that we feel changed our life forever. We're like, oh, I remember that song. That changed my life forever.
Well, yeah. Yes, like having a change, but like I've never thought about like influencing the. What are we talking about? Of the transgender and gender.
Gender construction.
Yeah. So no, I don't know. It's difficult. No.
Well, yeah. There's songs about what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman, what it is to love man, what it is to love woman, what it is to love puppies. There's a lot of songs about puppies.
Yeah. No. Well, it might change a bit, like, well, it's the same as TV, because if you don't like it, you won't listen it. Like, and it also depends of how you get the meaning of the song, I feel like. So if you're like listening the song but you don't think on the way of like gender, I feel like you like maybe won't change something, or
so the meaning would be different.
Yeah.
Maybe you interpret the music in a different way than someone else.
Yes.
Okay, so it doesn't necessarily change it.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
No.
Okay, that's good. Okay, so I pulled out a online article that I found by B.J. Carton. I don't know who he is either, so don't worry about it. But in this article, they were discussing cancellations of some shows and like Young Justice and so on in cartoons, cartoon shows. So, according to him, a major decision for cartoon content are toys. And apparently that also determines the gender of their demographic, like the who they're targeting, to try to sell these toys. And girls apparently don't buy as much toys as boys do. So most shows get cancelled when the majority of viewers are girls. How true do you think this statement is? How true do you think this is? And do you think do you think that's bullshit? Sorry for the word. You don't have to repeat that word. Do you think do you think that's messed up, or and why do you think toys are gender locked? Do you think they should be gender locked? Like, there should be toys for boys and toys for girls, or do you think it doesn't really matter and they should be free to choose their own toys? And on that, how do you think these affect gender construction of the child?
On the first question, I feel like that's so not okay. I feel like that's not true. They're because a lot of boys they don't even know. I feel like they don't know if that show is for girls or for boys. They're just watching it because they like it. So I don't know about that. And
the second one.
It's kind of the same with the color. Blue is for boy and pink is for girl. And I don't feel like it should be a toy for a girl and a toy for a boy, because a girl can go and grab a toys, a boy's toys, and the boy could go and grab a doll, or it's the same thing. They're just toys. I feel like it doesn't matter if it's a gun or a baby. I feel it's the same.
I hope it's not a real gun.
No, a toy gun. But yeah, and it won't affect of what the boy plays with. If he's playing with a baby, it's he just likes playing babies. He maybe when he grow up, he will be a pediatric, a doctor for babies or something like that.
Patriation.
Patriation.
I don't think I'm saying the word right. Don't worry, I'm also having difficulties with English.
Okay. And girls can play with cars, and when they grow up, they could be mechanic, or they could be I don't know, something else. It doesn't have to be with cars. Or I don't feel like it will. I feel like if the dad or the mom are no, you're a girl, you have to play with Barbie or a baby, I think that will affect the kid that's playing with that. It won't be the kid, because he's he doesn't think oh, this is for a boy, this is for a girl. I feel like it's the parents that influence the kid of what they should choose or what they should play with.
So a boy can like the same thing as a girl does.
Yeah.
And the final decision comes to the parents, you're saying. So the parents are the ones who influence their decision. They're no, you're not supposed to play with dolls. You're supposed to play with cars.
Yeah, it also depends on the parent.
Well, yeah, depends on the parent. But
yeah, and if they grow up and they have friends that are like know the problems that like the genders have, like transgender people like that, wait, they will like maybe change their mind. Like
Okay.
they will start thinking how they want. Like if they grow up like having a parent that was like, no, you should play with cars because you're a boy. But when they grow up, they start seeing like life different. Like, no, I don't. If I want to play with this, I will do this. So, I feel like when you're young, the parents take the decisions for you and they choose. But when you start like growing up, I feel like you will like change it.
So you're saying it doesn't affect that much, that the child, either boy or girl, will come out of it and will start to think and ask, why should I play with this and why should I play with that when my dad or my mom says so? Why should I listen to them? So you're saying a rebellious teenager.
Yes.
A rebellious teenager will start doing their big decisions in their teens rather than when they're kids.
Yes, because I don't know, I feel like because like they start seeing like they're not just as cool, and they're like for example in high school, maybe in grade 6 or 7, you start noticing like what's going on like around you and everything. But I think that you will like start to like change your like way of thinking and acting.
So before grade 6, you're not really thinking about it, and it's around grade 6 or 7 that you start noticing this, and you start to think, what if I do this? What if I do that? And you start to change yourself.
Yes.
That's actually quite amazing. Sorry. It's just that as adults we tend to think everybody's thinking on the same level as us. Well, at least in my experience, a lot of people think they're in the same level as them.
But no,
they're not.
No, you're not.
That's good. That's refreshing. Okay, so revisiting the first question of this section, where I asked, would television change someone's opinion of others and whatnot? Going back to that question, this is a different question. What about cartoons? Like not just television in general, like shows and what, but cartoons that are specifically challenging these tropes, like Steven Universe and Star versus the Forces of Evil. Hang on, stay with me. These cartoons challenges the archetypes of what's a boy and what's a girl and so forth, and they redefine the gender, what it is to be a boy, what it is to be a girl, in levels that a kid can comprehend. Like a kid can understand, oh hey, he's dressing as a girl because he likes dressing as a girl and nobody's telling him he's doing it wrong. Maybe that's part of being a boy. What do you think of that? Do you think these cartoons are positive role models in a child, even in an adult, to change their way, to open their minds to different aspects of their own gender or others?
Well,
final question. I assure you.
Yeah. Some parents might think that that's silly, like watching a cartoon and like a boy toy being dressed as a girl. But like I don't know. It could change the kid, because if he has a sister, he might go, or even in his mom's, he might go and grab, like, I don't know, the makeup or the dress from her sister or something like that, and he might, like, put it on. But then if he does it and if he likes it, like having makeup or a dress or something like that, I think that it will be like they will take it just as like fun. Like if the boy is in it, like, oh, I'm like the cartoon in the, like the boy in the cartoon.
So yeah.
And yeah, so like yes, and like, cause I've seen like photos of my friends when they were little dressed with like a dress, a makeup, but then the same, like when they grow up, I feel like they will be seeing it just like, oh, it was a phase, when like it was something that I went through when I was little. Like I like dressing up and like that and wear makeup for fun, and then they grow up and they stop doing it. I don't feel like it will do something on the kid watching that show.
What about for in the example of Star versus the Forces of Evil? It does the same thing but with girls. It breaks the stereotypical damsel in distress that is the princess, and it breaks that convention and makes it more action oriented. Like she's a badass and she fights monsters.
Yeah, I feel like it will be the same. They will start like try to dress as the girl is doing it, and it will be like for like fun. Like they will be just playing and that, but maybe like the next day they will like go back to like the dress and that. But I feel like they will just take it as a like just to have fun. Like it's like in Halloween they make the costume as that's the characters on the cartoon and movies and that, and they'll be just like one day and they will like stop. But if they like it, they might keep going, and when they grow up they will be like, oh, I like wearing this, I like being like this. So I feel like when they are like older, like like the same 6th grade and up, they will be like, I like being like this, I like wearing this. They will start being like that. But yeah, other than that, I don't. Yes.
Okay. So last question.
Okay.
And this is the easiest question.
Okay.
What are your hopes for the future? Like in the case of politics, for example, seeing all that hatred and all the difficulties people are going, or in television, seeing how people are adding more female characters, more gay characters, more transgender characters, etc. What are your hopes for the future? Like, what do you hope the world? How do you hope the world changes for the better or for the worse? I don't know.
Well, I hope that like some places discrimination still is going on, like on types of gender. I hope that discrimination, like, it's less than it's now, and the shows, I feel like how they are now, it's okay. Like, I don't watch a lot of shows, so I think I hope they're like being the same, because like not every show has to have a different gender and all of that. So I don't know, shows can maybe be the same as now. And what's the other thing?
What other thing?
You said shows and
film.
And films. think they will be the same. I don't think they I don't think they will change.
What about the world? Do you think the world will change?
I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. It's yeah, I don't.
You're not keeping your hopes up?
Not really.
That's good. Cynicism is good. Don't worry about it.
I think because if you asked me this question years ago, and I have maybe the same, years, I will be saying maybe that it gets better and less, a lot of things fights and all of that. But it just won't happen. I feel like it will be the same. And if you ask someone how do you say, maybe 10 years apart from now or 5, they will be maybe saying the same thing, but I don't feel like it will change a lot. Maybe none. It wouldn't change anything. Maybe. I don't know, it's difficult.
The future is difficult. Yeah. Anyways, that was the last question. Thank you very much for your time for this interview. If you have any questions about the project or whatever, this project is gonna be public, so I'm gonna be uploading it to YouTube.
Okay.
You're gonna be YouTube famous. Not really. No, your voice is the only thing recorded. Yes. Don't worry about it. So, yeah. Thank you very much for your time.